Hello and welcome to a Q30 News special interview with President Judy Olian. I'm Brooke Riley. Thank you for joining me, President Olian.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for making this possible.
So yesterday, Quinnipiac freshman Nicole Giordano wrote out a petition titled Get President Judy Olian Fired. What were your initial thoughts when you saw this?
Well, fortunately, she withdrew that petition later on. Anytime somebody feels as strongly as she did about reaching out and reaching an extreme conclusion, you say, okay, the first reaction is, let's talk about it, let's see what led to this. So my first reaction was to write her an email and to invite her to come talk to me that evening, which she did, and then she chose to say that she now understands and summarily withdrew the petition.
So Nicole told us that you emailed her while you were hosting a dinner party. She also said that you included that SGA representatives were going to be there and other members of administration. What was the purpose behind this meeting?
I wanted to get, first of all, as broad a perspective as I could from the leadership of the student body on what their thinking was, and I wanted them to have a full context about why we initiated a variety of actions in the context of our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is really about the future of Quinnipiac University, investing resources in our students, in our faculty, in our programs to be the university of the future. We can't just keep adding programs without evaluating what we're already doing and how we're doing it and whether that fits with the future. When you're a university as established as us, we've done many things extraordinarily well for many years. And is everything a part of the future? And I wanted them to really give me feedback once they understood that context. They suggested having a broader town meeting with the students, which is exactly what we did. It was an extremely constructive session, wonderful give and take, a lot of support from the students for the direction that we're headed in.
So as you just mentioned today, you did hold your town hall meeting. What did you hope to get out of it, and was that achieved?
You know, I really believe that in a community like ours, there is so much diversity of ideas, and it's very hard to find that diversity of ideas unless you create those open forums. I try to do that in a lot of different ways with my open office hours, going to as many student events as I can. And last night at 11:30, we had a powwow with the leadership of the SGA to say, where could we spontaneously capture as many students as possible in between classes? And it's Thursday today. Later on in the day was considered not a great time, and that's what we decided on. And I really felt that that free-for-all that we had was very healthy. There was a diversity of opinions. There were a lot of good questions, and I tried to answer them as transparently as possible. And there were some ideas that we took to heart and will engage in the future.
Now, several students did attack you and target you. How did you feel about that?
Well, I don't take anything personally, and I don't think that they were targeting me personally. I view it as a question of the institution's decision to invest in a property for the university and a resident for a president, which we've supported in the past. I don't know about most, but the majority of universities have residences for presidents. This was land that we absolutely needed to purchase. This was purchased before I arrived, a decision of the board. So none of this to me was a personal attack. It was really a give and take on the merits of this institutional decision.
And do you think the basis behind this might be because some students are misinformed or uneducated?
I never think our students are uneducated. I think that in this day of huge volumes of information that are coming at you from every direction, it's sometimes difficult to get all of the sides of an issue or an argument. And what I said today during the town meeting what we need to do is to be able to have forums where we have open, full discussions of issues. And we might sometimes disagree, but at least we've heard each other and seen the whys of why somebody might be making a decision of this kind, even if you disagree with it. And we need to be respectful of each other. So it's incumbent upon us to at least provide as complete information as possible about an issue.
And do you feel like you had the opportunity to defend your stance on everything?
Again, I don't view this as my personal stance. I view it as a decision that the board made, that the institution made for important reasons, as I said, whether it's the radio station or other reallocation decisions that we're going to make. We're going to make them because of the future of this institution, the benefits to our students, not just today, but in the future. And I hope that we were able to be heard around the merits of the argument. Do I think that everyone necessarily agrees? It's rare that you get unanimity. But I hope that people see that there are merits to this decision, even if some might disagree. And I got the impression that there was large support for what the university and the trustees decided to do in this instance.
And you said you're going to be reevaluating based on financial needs and student needs. We saw what happened with WQUN and the Hunger Museum. What's next in your plan?
First of all, the Hunger Museum has no decision associated with it. What we asked is that the Hunger Museum become financially self-sufficient within 2 years, which is by June 2020. And I really hope that they do. It's an important art collection. The purposes of the museum will never go away. We do have important ways of remembering and discussing and commemorating the importance of historic events like Holocausts, like the hunger in Ireland, immigration issues, poverty, whether it's through our spiritual centers, through the Irish Institute on campus, through the Irish Reading Center, through the Schweitzer Institute, and through various classes. That won't go away. On other issues, the provost, the executive vice president, has data that he and the deans are evaluating on various academic areas to see whether there are tweaks that we can make. We're also hiring quite a number of faculty, tenure track and other faculty, to shore up areas where we think that those are needed this year. And so we're making investments, but those investments can't all be additive. We do need to reallocate around the priorities of our teaching programs, our student needs, our faculty scholarships, the program distinctions.
And you've talked a lot about your strategic plan. How's the preparation going? Where are you at with that?
We've had town hall meetings with every major constituent. We're currently soliciting feedback from alumni. Our board has weighed in. I would say that the strategic plan is about 85% there. We are finalizing the internal version, which is the blueprint. Every school, every unit will look to see how they fit into the strategic plan, the overarching strategic plan. We're developing a philanthropic plan from it. We're also developing an outside-facing summary of the plan to be able to succinctly say, here's who we are as Quinnipiac, here's what we stand for, and here's where we want to go. And that will be a succinct statement to the outside world of who Quinnipiac is and the exciting path that we're following.
And do you think this event affected long-term transparency?
What event?
Just the whole thing that happened with the petition and everybody asking so many questions today.
Well, first of all, the petition, I think, had a very short shelf life and is no longer there. I think that there was a great deal of exchange that occurred. I believe that the students who have been engaging with me from the SGA to the town meeting have really appreciated the transparency that I'm comfortable with from day one, So I don't see anything changing. I think that there's always learning to be had in every in everything that happens in one's life. I hope I continue learning to the end, and to the extent that we can be a little more preemptive about some issues. For example, we haven't been as clear about what the radio station could be repurposed for, namely a podcast center for our students and our faculty and the local community. That's something that we're working on. But I hope that I continue the opportunities for that kind of exchange, that those office hours, the spontaneous conversations that I have with lots of students, I plan to continue that.
And do you feel that your office hours have been beneficial so far?
Well, I would ask the people who've attended. I hope that they are. They fill up very, very quickly. And I've learned a lot from them, and we've followed up in many instances with improvements that have been suggested from faculty, from staff, from students, from alumni, from parents, from people in the community. I've certainly benefited greatly from them, and I hope others have.
And will current students see this impact, or do you think this is all long-term?
Which impact?
Just the changes that you plan to make within the strategic plan and so forth from there.
Well, Brooke, the strategic plan is really building for our future. This is a 5-year plan, but we haven't stopped doing things that we would be doing over the course of the year. So every year we're investing something like $30 million in capital improvements, in classrooms, in athletic programs, in labs. We're obviously hiring now. So these improvements are constantly being embedded in what we do. And yes, what happens today is probably a product of some investments that were made 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years ago. So the impact of investments in our future will continue to unfold. Some of them will be immediately felt, and some of them will have long-term benefits. But I've always said to students, our students, you know, you're forever bound with us. Quinnipiac is always on your banner, on your resume, and you have a vested interest, as we have a commitment to you in continuing to build the power, the value, the reputation, the stature of the Quinnipiac name, brand, forever.
So you're talking a lot about Quinnipiac's future. What's your vision for the future of Quinnipiac?
Well, I'm really extremely gratified by the participation that we've had with the strategic planning process. We've had hundreds of people either on the task forces or participate in the town hall meetings or in the open online forums. And I've had a hand in the shaping of the strategic plan. I've helped write it along with others. And I think that the strategic plan embodies a very exciting vision for Quinnipiac. And we talk about the university of the future that recognizes the changing nature of the population of the future, the need for lifelong learning, the need for a touch point forever in your alma mater because you can never stop learning. The fact that we, as any kind of institution that has intellectual capabilities, that has students that are learning and that have capabilities to give back, and faculty and staff, that we have a commitment to the communities in which we live as a public commitment, and we have to provide as broad access as possible to all members of our communities. And I think that Quinnipiac will not just have very distinctive programs of the future because we're so agile, but we'll embrace a much broader set of learners and look like the university of the future.
So you've heard a lot of questions and concerns today, especially. Is there a statement that you'd like to leave with the students?
First of all, I appreciate the support that I've heard from many, many students, which has been heartwarming for where we're headed and for the decisions that we're making, and the appreciation for the open dialogue that we're having, where I commit to continuing that because it's been so valuable also to me. But I'm very excited about our future, not just because we have a clear vision and a plan for the future and excitement, but because of the DNA of who Quinnipiac is, which wasn't born today or even yesterday, but it's the product of a wonderful pathway that has been built over the years, this agility, this nimbleness, this boldness about embracing where the puck is headed, and a connectivity, an intimacy, a caring, a community that really has heart. And both of those elements position us to embrace the future in a caring, compassionate, but also bold manner for the future.
Well, I thank you very much for joining me today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Thanks so much, Brooke, for those questions.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Be sure to stay up to date with our content at Q30 News on Twitter and Q30TV.com.